I expect to get fired every day. This is a tough business. And if I were Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, I'm surprised that a guy who once wore blackface and caused large-breasted women to jump on trampolines lasted this long in the media business to begin with. He was long past his sell date, and the fact that he couldn't realize that and was going down this road of partisan hackery, being unfunny and demonizing.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to yesterday's news channel, where we watch CNN so you don't have to. On last night's episode of News Night with Abby Phillip, Scott Jennings went head-to-head not only with Abby Phillip, but with Montel Williams for some reason, and a liberal professor that looks like he's straight out of Central Casting, as they tried to defend Jimmy Kimmel. The panel claimed his suspension was government censorship because of a comment FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr made on Benny Johnson's show. Just like you, Scott Jennings wasn't buying it, and with very little effort, demolished Abby Phillip's defense of Jimmy Kimmel live on CNN. Anyway, let's watch CNN back the vile words and behavior of a multimillionaire that's done blackface and trashed over half the country nightly for a decade or more, and expect the American people to give a shit. But first, for some background, let's quickly watch Brendan Carr's comment on Benny Johnson's show that has the panel, especially Abby, so fired up, and that'll lead straight into the panel discussion. Let's go.
They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Scott Jennings, you were at this table last night and you defended free speech. Tonight, we are seeing the FCC chairman explicitly threatening a company over speech that they don't like. You're good with it or not?
Well, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's still free to speak. He just isn't necessarily free to do it on ABC, which obviously made a business decision. I see everybody rushing to blame the administration for this tonight. But you had Nexstar, which owns a bunch of ABC affiliates, and Sinclair Group, which owns a bunch of ABC affiliates, saying they were mad about what he did. I'm sure it generated massive numbers of viewer complaints into the affiliates. A smart TV person said the only thing you can't do in TV is piss off the affiliates, and I think that's what they did.
So then why did Brendan Carr have to say, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way? And then he went on to say that they can either censor Jimmy Kimmel or the FCC will have more work to do. And as you may know, Nexstar has business before the FCC. They have a deal to purchase another TV group, Tenga, for $6.2 billion. In order to do that, they need Brendan Carr to say, yes, you may own more TV stations than is legally allowed right now. So there's clear specific newspaper.
Or be a black columnist fired by the Washington Post.
That's correct. And so what you're seeing is that it is sending a chilling effect. It is sending a chilling effect across the media, which it is intended to do by this administration in order to silence them.
You use the phrase propaganda, Professor, and I just have to ask you, what do you consider what Jimmy Kimmel was doing every night, or what Stephen Colbert was doing by having on only Democratic guests? Jimmy Kimmel Monday night flat lied about the shooter. Back in the spring, he egged his audience on in cheering on the violence against and wanting, kind of wishing, I think, the downfall of a publicly traded company, Tesla. Do you consider that to be propaganda? Is it good for a business?
Do you consider that to be free speech, Scott?
You use the phrase propaganda.
I'm asking you. You used the words free speech before. Do you consider that free speech?
I consider it to be speech, and he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others? Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left...
You defend his right to do so.
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks half this country on a nightly basis.
Hold on. Listen, there are plenty of people over on another network that I will not name who lied about the last election, who denigrate half the country every single night. And guess what? They are allowed to do it. Now, the question is, Scott, is the government...
By their company. It's their business decision.
Hold on. But is the government supposed to be punishing people for the speech that they don't like? Is that the role of the government in your mind?
The government is not punishing them. This was not a government decision. Ultimately, Disney made a decision. Ultimately, CBS made a decision earlier this year. You all are blaming the government. That's your opinion. That's your opinion about their business motivations.
This is such a silly segment. It's all predicated on Abby Phillip is so desperate to pretend that Brendan Carr's comment on a podcast equals the federal government pulling strings to fire Jimmy Kimmel. That's the whole conversation. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't silenced by Washington. He wasn't dragged out of his studio by federal agents. The show was canceled because it was a bad business deal. Ratings were down, advertisers were upset, and yes, his disgusting comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination didn't help. Jimmy Kimmel's made a career out of lying to his audience, whether it was about Trump, conservatives, or even something as ridiculous as vandalism at Tesla dealerships. Yet CNN's panel acted like Kimmel is some kind of martyr. The truth is, Kimmel isn't canceled. He still has more money and influence than almost anyone watching at home. Don't worry, everybody. He'll be just fine. The only thing that ended was a failing late-night format that outlived its usefulness. Back to it.
Allen has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon.
Okay, let's just take a moment and let's pretend that Donald Trump is not the president. Let's pretend that it's somebody else. And that person says, I don't like this person. I don't like that person. They're going to be gone next because I want them gone. I think the question that we have to ask ourselves in this moment is, if you took the partisanship out of it right now, would you be comfortable with a president of the United States saying to any private corporation, television network, cable broadcast, that this is how they have to program their TV in terms of who is on and who is not?
I don't have a problem with the president expressing an opinion about people who express opinions about him. And regarding Kimmel, whether he was going to address it or not, I read that he was going to address it, but that he wasn't going to apologize, which I am sure was going to make Sinclair and Nexstar go crazy.
But what about Trump using the government to enforce it? Because it's not just his words. He is also using the government to enforce his words.
Well, it is your opinion that they were threatening them. It is my opinion that they had a larger decision to make regarding their business interests.
Twice now. It is not my opinion that Brendan Carr said, you can either do this or I will do that. That's what he said. That's not my opinion. That's a fact.
Look, my view is all these companies have business decisions to make that are based on more than just what a singular person said in an interview. They've got affiliates to deal with. They've got advertisers to deal with. I promise
you that
when Jimmy Kimmel does what he does,
bring the FCC into it.
Well, look, he gave an interview. I can't tell you that if I were the head of the FCC, I would have given that interview. It sounded a little over the top to me, but I still believe that what's going on here has more to do with their business than it does with the government.
Then why won't you guys denounce it? That's the thing. Why won't you say what the FCC, what they did is wrong? I mean, I think that's the problem. It was a threat from the administration, and I understand the business dealing 100%. Just like the first ABC settlement, I truly believe that they were looking at it. It was a business deal. It was a business decision there, and that's why they moved forward with that. But when it comes to an actual threat from the federal government, that's wrong. It is wrong for our government to threaten these organizations when they have the power to approve mergers.
They didn't have to do this. They looked at all of the factors and said, okay, it's time for us to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. I think there's more going on than just Brendan Carr's interview. All the time, the president criticizes media outlets who then go out and continue to do what he hates it.
And then he sues them
for $15 billion.
So this is the way that Donald Trump gets what he wants, and now we're seeing it with the media.
You brought up, obviously, we've been discussing the First Amendment. I mean, there are also statutory issues here. I mean, you have the public interest standard from the Communications Act of 1934. The Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld the idea that Congress and the FCC have to enforce the public interest standard. And what does it say? Promoting civic discourse, educating the public, ensuring a diversity of voices. I think you could make a strong argument that Jimmy Kimmel wasn't doing any of that, nor was Colbert.
Scott,
but
I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know here. You sometimes offend people. I hear about it on the socials. Do you think that you should then be held to the same standard that you're asking for, that if someone says that you're offensive, that you're not doing civic discourse, that CNN should kick you off? I'm not worried about you and that happening to you in the present regime, but I am worried about other people in this building.
Two things. We don't fall under the same statutory regime, A. B, I expect to get fired every day. This is a tough business. And if I were Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, I'm surprised that a guy who once wore blackface and caused large-breasted women to jump on trampolines lasted this long in the media business to begin with. He was long past his sell date, and the fact that he couldn't realize that and was going down this road of partisan hackery, being unfunny and demonized.
And that's what people like Phillip at Sinclair said exactly the same thing.
Why not allow the actual market to handle that?
I think they are. I think the Sinclair, I think at Channel 12 in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, people up there said, enough of this. I don't want this. Those are the kind of affiliates that said, we don't want this guy on air anymore.
Why not let the actual private market handle it?
They did. Look at that letter.
Listen, you would have a stronger argument if a government official wasn't on, I don't even want to call it television, some kind of broadcast saying that he was going to get involved. That would be a...
Yeah, I remember something I wanted to say. I think it was in the first clip we watched. Abby tried to bolster her case by pointing out that Nexstar needs FCC approval to merge with Tenga, as if that proves her theory. But all it really does is highlight how many moving parts go into these business decisions. It actually undercuts her argument. If anything, it shows why networks are extra cautious. They don't want unnecessary baggage while pursuing billion-dollar deals. Abby wants you to believe that this was government censorship, that Brennan Carr's offhand comment on a podcast magically turned into a federal action. But that's just not what happened. Jimmy Kimmel still has a platform. He still has more money and power than almost anyone else in entertainment, and absolutely nothing is stopping him from talking. What ended was a show that no longer made financial sense for its owners. It's not censorship. It's the free market at work, the free market they're talking about right there. Free speech absolutely exists, and I am an absolutist, but it doesn't guarantee you a paycheck. But what do you guys think? I mean, what was it actually censorship, or was it a business decision that Jimmy Kimmel brought on himself? And do you think CNN is gaslighting the audience when they defend Kimmel like this? What's the angle? What's their end game? What do they get out of defending Jimmy Kimmel's vile rhetoric? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. No announcements today. Thank you all very much for watching this video. I really appreciate that you take time out of your day to do that. It means a lot to me, and I never take it for granted. Always put God first. I'll see you guys.